It's time to rev your engines. The Syracuse Nationals proudly presents the Cavalcade of Cars, March 22nd through 23rd at the New York State Fairgrounds. The two-day indoor car show features all the classics, plus lifted trucks, Jeeps, motorcycles, and more. Cavalcade of Cars, CNY.com.
Fran Brown this, Fran Brown that.
If you want me to take a lie detector, Brian, I'll take it.
Portal watch this, Portal watch that.
The dog Mama Duke. People say I like that dog.
What are you talking about playing walk-on? Who do you think walked onto the team?
Anybody that thinks this is going to come back is either naive or plain stupid.
All across CNY.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
It's the 315.
Hardy faking, feeds the Grace Jameson. Got it!
He scores! Woo!
Here's Brian Higgins.
Oh, what's going on? Thursday. Cuse, Utica, Rome. What's up, Rome? How we doing? Q Sports Talk. QSportsTalk.com. Q Sports Talk Twitch. Q Sports Talk YouTube. Chat. Whatever chat you're partaking in today. How are we doing here on this Thursday? Big show, busy show as always. On a Thursday, our final scheduled weekly visit with one J.J. Starling coming up later this hour. Head coach of the Orange men's lacrosse team. Some guy named Gary Gate will join us next hour. Hopkins week. Q's Hopkins lax on Sunday, 2 o'clock in the Dome. See if they can't get a big crowd for that one. Always a little more zest when there's a few people in the seats for Cuse and Hopkins, which is coming up on Sunday this year in the Dome. Orange trying to get a second straight win. Hopkins has been skating by in a series of one-goal wins this year. Should be a good one as always with those two getting together. And the big news of the day is one, not shocking, but two, also technically said aloud for the first time. John Wildhack was on Orange Nation earlier today and said, I think what we all knew would be the case, but made it officially official that Adrian Autry will be back for year 3 as Syracuse men's basketball coach next year. So much talk about that today as we get you ready for Syracuse and Virginia in the regular season finale coming up Saturday in the Dome, 8 o'clock Saturday night. It is quite literally the last game of the ACC regular season. It's it. When that game is over, it's done till Tuesday in Charlotte. So we will know by the end of that game for sure, you know, who, what, when, where, why, and how Syracuse is going to be playing in the postseason. Right now, the Orange are currently sitting in 14th place in the league, which would put them in the 7 o'clock slot on Tuesday night, but there's still a plethora of possibilities remaining. ACC tiebreakers make you want to jam your head into a light socket at some point, so we'll see how it all plays out on Saturday, depending on what happens specifically in a Cal Notre Dame game that will be of significant tiebreak importance to Syracuse in South Bend. And then we'll see where the Orange land on Saturday, who they play, and all that good stuff coming up on Tuesday from Charlotte, regardless of what time it is. Full coverage of that, pre-post, the whole shebang coming up here on Tuesday. Paulie will be heading down that way regardless, and we'll be live somewhere from Charlotte on Monday and maybe Tuesday, and who the hell knows, depending on what Syracuse does down there in the tournament. But with that, welcome in here on this Thursday. What day is it? Man, there's just so much going on right now that it's easy to lose track. 315-437-7644. Them's the digits if you'd like to join in with us today. So with that, let's just go back to a little less than 4 hours ago. John Wildhack was on Orange Nation this morning. We hadn't really seen nor heard from John anywhere in a while going back to football season until a couple weeks ago when this $50 million fundraising campaign was announced and sort of in line with the House v. NCAA settlement that in theory is going to allow athletic departments to use $20.5 million as part of a rev share with their athletes. So he said then that Syracuse would participate in full. And so a lot of conversation on that today with Stephen Pauly on Orange Nation. But the main question that everyone's been asking, that everybody wants to know going back to, last year, going back to throughout this season, the main thing we get every day is, will Adrian Autry be back next year? So, Steve asked John just that.
Can you clear that up for everybody today? Will he be back as head coach at Syracuse next season?
Adrian will be back next year. But there's also, with that comes, the expectations is, we and I and Adrian, we expect our performance to be significantly better next year. So we've got to fix this.
Though there is John from earlier today with Stephen Pauly on Orange Nation. That right there, what we just played for you, is a statement of fact. That Adrian Autry will be back next year. As we've been telling you all along, not an opinion. Should he? How well is he doing? This isn't about that. This is a simple true or false question. Will Adrian Autry coach the Syracuse men's basketball team next season? The answer is yes. Okay? We all good with that now? I know a lot of you aren't good with it, but are we at least good that is like, these are the accepted facts of the case? This has been entered into the court as Exhibit A. Like, we know Red's going to be back next year. So now, can we attempt to move forward to the real pertinent question right now? All right, Red's back next year. Whether you agree with it or not doesn't necessarily matter a whole hill of beans right now. What matters is they got 13 wins. That is the wrong amount of wins. It's nowhere near the right amount of wins. Everybody is aware of that. All right. So how do you take 20 wins last year, dip into 13, whatever it ends up being this year? How do you turn that into where you need it to be? So Steve also asked John that if there's going to be any, directed off-season changes from on high to the head coach.
I've never told a coach that, you've got to go, take somebody and, find two sacrificial lambs. I'm not going to do that. If Adrian wants to make changes, he'll come to me. We'll have that discussion. I think one thing that'll benefit us going forward as we get ready for the portal is having Alex Klein here. Alex didn't have an opportunity last year to really impact this year's team. He got here too late. He's been here now. I think we're much better prepared for the portal from a personnel standpoint. I think Alex has also helped us in terms of recruiting and identifying the type of player that our staff wants at Syracuse, right? And the qualities, the basketball qualities that they want, the individual qualities they want as a person, as a teammate, as a student, et cetera, that type of thing. So I think Alex will have an impact, significant impact on what we do in the portal this year and the roster construction of next year's team.
18 days from right now. 18 days from right now is when the transfer portal opens. 2 weeks from Monday. 18 days from right now. And minus a few hours. 18 days. I don't know when the season's going to end. Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Thursday if they catch lightning in a bottle for a few days. Be shocked if it went beyond that at the absolute longest. We would not be shocked at all if they go one and done down there on Tuesday, because whomever they're playing, be it Notre Dame or Florida State or Pitt or whatever, they're playing another like team in the league, and whatever can happen in the game. So we'll see what happens at the ACC tournament. 18 days from now. We've been talking about Alex Klein for months and months and months. Syracuse has a GM. What does it mean? 18 days, we begin to find out the answer to that question. Because I think, we'll be able to take, in theory, what we see from the outside as the process. Last year, it felt a little scattershot, right? With Syracuse going into the portal, it felt like there was a sprint, a rush to Lampkin, and then after that, it felt like kind of searching the wilderness for guards. It never quite felt cohesive in the plan of attack, re the portal last year. I mean, Alex was on Orange Nation, I don't know, back when, August, September, whatever it was after he got the gig. Seems like a very knowledgeable guy. Who the heck knows? We presume him to have been good at his job, but he was working in the NBA with the Knicks and wherever he was around then before that, or else you don't get hired for a gig like that. What influence will he have on this? I don't know, but 18 days, when we start seeing lists, Mike McAllister reporting things, what names are out there that Syracuse is tied to? Is Syracuse tied to people that make sense, like early and often? Are the moves decisive but logical? I think we're going to be able to line up what the order of operations is this year. It may not result in getting guys. I don't know. NIL obviously still plays a significant role in that and what money you got. But I think we'll be able to line up the order of operations this year versus the order of operations last year and at least see what the difference is. And I think that will be an interesting case when 18 days from now we begin watching the portal, as realistically, it's the most important thing going for Syracuse basketball right now. Does Red need to become a better coach? Sure, he needs to become a better coach. Do the freshmen next year need to be, if not superstars? That's a lot to ask from freshmen. Not many Cooper flags out there in a given year. But do, say, Sadiq White and Kian Anthony need to contribute, I'd say, in a meaningful way next year? Sure, they need to contribute in a meaningful way next year. But if you want to see a jump from 13, 14, 15, wherever this season lands, wins, to 20-some-odd, at minimum the bubble, hopefully more than the bubble, playing games in March that we give a crap about, all the stuff that we've grown accustomed to over the decades upon decades upon decades as Syracuse basketball observers and fans, then the players that are going to make that happen, we don't know who they are yet. Even if you get Donnie Freeman back and J.J. Starling back and Chapo Moore back, and in comes Sadiq White, and in comes Kian Anthony. That's a solid collection of talent if you somehow keep them all around. But even that is still not enough to make legit moves deep in March where you want to be. You still need something from the portal. So it's going to be vitally important times here coming up. Everyone seems to understand it. Everyone has stated it out loud. 18 days from now, we start seeing proof in the pudding. One way or another. One way or another, we start seeing proof in the pudding on have they seen what went wrong last year and course corrected enough here in 1 year's time. And that will be the fascinating questions going forward on this. And that'll wrap up our Burdick BMW opening drive here today. Got a little Red for you to play back from that conversation earlier on today. Red was on also Orange Nation today. Lots going on Orange Nation earlier today. We'll get that to you in a little bit. We'll get your calls here in a little bit at 315-437-7644. We'll get to J.J. Starling here in a little bit later on in this hour as well. But right now, let's get a check of the old markets. For that, we bring in our guy Bill from Lee Baldwin. All right, Bill, how'd this Thursday go for you?
More volatility as we fell 427 points or 1%. We've literally gone up or down 1% every day for the last week. And tomorrow we have some big economic numbers coming out, so maybe the market was a little nervous ahead of that, but to be honest, we are due for a pretty good bounce. There were some diamonds today. A lot of defensive stocks were up, telecom, healthcare, a few energy stocks. We're going to go with Kroger's, grocery store maker, up 2% on earnings. Earnings weren't great, but and their guidance wasn't great, but I would say it was conservative guidance because they basically said there are factors out there that are out of our control, which we all know. It's tough to run a company right now with trade tariffs changing every day. So a lot of uncertainty. And then on the downside, we have chip maker Marvell dropped 17% on earnings. So we've seen the chips, which were the tech darlings last year, they're in a pretty good correction this year. And even NVIDIA, the darling out there, was down 5%. So weakness in tech and weakness overall. But as I mentioned, we're due for a pretty good rebound here coming soon. All
right. Hopefully that comes sooner than later, Bill. Thank you as always, Bill, from Lee Baldwin with all of the diamonds and none of the dogs. More information at leebaldwin.com, leebaldwin.com. All right, we'll take a break. Phone lines open here for the next bit, 315-437-7644. Want to play back some red for you from earlier from Orange Nation. J.J. Starling coming up in a bit. Gary Gate next hour, and your calls throughout today, 315-437-7644. Step aside for a few. Back at it after this. It's Thursday here on Q Sports Talk at ESPN Radio. Okay, what is up, chat? Are you seriously, Orange NY? Would the best player have made a difference on this year's team? Yes, the best player would have made a difference on this year's team. Yeah, y'all were being obnoxious as a group this morning, LA Orange. I'm not signaling you out, but holy hell. Yes, don't you start, Alphabet Guy. I will ban you so fast. I mean, I thought Uncle Whatever's keyboard was going to break with his volume of output. The amount of times that I was like hovering over the timeout button was aggressive in 2 hours. Yeah, Uncle, it's that guy Griffin from Oswego who called last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever it is. Bowling ball. You get back to being stuck in traffic, bowling ball. Well, he didn't need to say them 8 million goddamn times, JG2000. It was too much. It was his volume of content, which was making me want to throw my computer across the office. Much more than his content. Yes, we do your Syracuse. Do we need to do a quick Syracuse guided meditation, Super Cat? Joe Spallina. It's just people in there typing the same thing repeatedly all day long. Like, yeah, we can all read. Stop it. I just don't know, like, what, like, you've all heard Wild Hack interviews before. What else did you think he was going to say? Like, he doesn't give away the farm on interviews. He never has, ever. What are you doing, Brett Thatchett? Uncle G, Guy to Bar. No, Guy to Bar was so right. Like, I just don't like people like Uncle G. Just like, why does his opinion get to be 100% correct for the rest of us? Like, I just don't like. All right, like if we said the Wild Hack, like if Steve Rapoli said the Wild Hack this morning, what specifically does Red need to do better as a coach? What's he going to say to that? No, we'll give you a sword, Kev. What's that? Your first what buckets? Lock him in the Carrabba's. You are going to Carrabba's, and we are shutting all the doors, including the kitchen. The Automod does not pop. In the chat window I have in the studio, the Automod, I'd have to look at it elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, it is what it was. He said Red's coming back. He talked about the NIL stuff. Like, it's important to get that stuff on record, but there wasn't anything revolutionary. Uncle G is Derek Coleman. That would be electric.
All across central New York, This is the 315 with Brian Higgins.
All right, rolling along here on this Thursday. Phones available, 315-437-7644. Our final of our weekly chats with J.J. Starling coming up later this hour. Lax, Gary Gate, Cuse Hopkins, Sunday, 2 o'clock. He'll join us coming up next hour to get you set for that. Hopefully he'll be in front of that throne of lacrosse sticks in his office. I got questions. Lots of questions. And we'll hit the lax as well with Gary Gates coming up a little less than an hour from now in hour 2. But as mentioned, phone lines open and available to you. Let's hit the phones. We'll start with our guy, Scooter. What's up, Scoot?
Yeah, Brian, of course, the intriguing part is the meaningful games in March.
Right.
And do you remember, was it a year ago or 2 years ago, where he made kind of a statement that kind of, didn't understand where he was going with it. But he says he's happy as long as we're part of the conversation to be in the tournament. And I think I called your show and I said that it sounds like Northwestern talk more than a top 40 talk where we're hoping to be in. And I don't know if that means meaningful games in March, that we're on the bubble and we're playing maybe the win or lose to be in the tournament. And I know Orange Nation thought basically they said that probably meaningful games are in the tournament. I don't know what your interpretation is.
I'd say that's the beauty of that statement, isn't it, Scooter? I could interpret it however the hell you want it to be interpreted, which is, I am sure, not accidental by John either. And I think what's so interesting is in context. Let's go back to last year in football season. We were all sitting there with Dino, and I don't know about you, Scooter. I think all of us thought, all right, he's definitely on the hot seat here, but if you can figure out a bowl game, he's probably good. And then we found out with a week ago in the season that there was I don't want to say a line in the sand. It wasn't a line in the sand. It was Sharpie across the paper that it was 7 wins last year and they didn't get there, and Dino was out. And obviously it's all worked out since then. So that's what I'm sure won't know, because John is not a say that stuff in advance of the season out loud kind of guy. Like, I don't know. Is it tournament or bust for Red next year? Is it, eye test, just come on, don't do this again next year? Is it Sweet 16? I mean, I think that would be kind of that would be kind of arbitrary, but I don't know. Like, we'll know by the end of the season. Like, if he doesn't make the tournament and he's back for year 4, we'll know that it was a little more nebulous. But I can't imagine he does make the tournament and then doesn't get a 4th year after that. If you do this season again, then yeah, I'd be kind of stunned if there's a year 4. But if we're in Joe Lunardi bubble zone next year, then I think we'll be in the most interesting scenario of all.
Does anybody ever ask the athletic director? Because do you remember his quote last year or the year before? Where he said, well, as long as we're in the conversation, then that's okay. And to me, if we're supposed to be Syracuse, we all think, from the elitist part, we're Syracuse, we're supposed to be in the tournament. That was kind of surprising what he said then. And because that's, like I said, that's actually Northwestern talk. You're hoping you're in the conversation, you're in it, and you're happy. It's interesting because I'm just thinking back, and Woodson from Indiana was in the tournament 2 years ago. They were up there. They actually were up in Albany,
right,
and lost. And yet, right now, I don't know if he resigned or was pushed out. And to me, it's making the tournament. There's 68 teams now, and sometimes depends where or where you think you should be. I mean, Indiana thinks obviously they're real elite, and just making the tournament isn't enough. And I just don't know where he stands now of it, because there was a time where it wasn't we're in the tournament, where are we playing, how close it is to home, and we're looking for a path to get to at least the Sweet 16. And now it looks like it sounds to me it'd be interesting to see what he says. From a March standpoint, are we in the conversation, and that's enough if we're playing in March and we win a game in the ACC tournament that puts us in the first 4 in or first 4 out? Does that mean a meaningful game?
Yeah, and that's what I think is going to be fascinating next year. Say say they're on the bubble. Say they're 19-12 or 20-11, and say they miss the tournament. Say they're literally like the last team that's out of the tournament. Is that all right? You missed the tournament. Goodbye. And I also wonder, like, if you're Red, what hangs over your neck larger? And he maybe, clearly last year in hindsight, like Dino knew the answer. Like, let's go back to him walking off the field at Georgia Tech. Like,
I agree.
He knew. So I just wonder, like, what changes the fact that, all right, let's say Red knows whatever is the number or the answer next year. Let's say Red knows it going into this season. Does it change how everything interacts with him if we know the specifics versus if we're just guessing at it? And that's where I have no idea. Like, what affects the team in a way that matters? Does any of it affect the team in a way that matters? And I think that's the most important question to ask if you're John Wildhack. Like, is it more or less pressure on the team to have it publicly out there what the deal is or not? And I don't know the answer to that question.
Do we know, because there's now 18 teams, you kind of know in football who we're playing. When does that get settled? Because, this year we only played, we didn't play as many home and homes with, the top tier teams.
Right.
What happens next year if we're home and home against Duke and there's this good next year and Carolina is good and Clemson's good and maybe we play home and home? Is that going to matter too? The schedule. And last year, I know they won 20 games, and we can talk about Chaminade, and that was a big thing when we thought maybe they're on the bubble, and that's not going to count. It is going to count in the net. But the bottom line is, who did they actually beat last year in those 19 games? I think Carolina, but every out-of-conference game again, I think we lost.
Right.
And so what's 19 or 20 games? It depends who you beat, and that's why we're talking about a little bit about SMU. They got 22 wins, but do they have a quad win yet or no?
No, they do not have a quad one win yet, nor will they have an opportunity until realistically the semifinals, I think, of the ACC tournament coming up at maybe the quarter. It depends. Quarters or semis at the absolute earliest of the ACC tournament. And I think that's to your point, Scooter. And I think it may be out there that if I'm trying to remember what they did with that schedule matrix, if they dropped a couple of years of opponents or not, it doesn't matter to your point. But you look at the scenario. And I think that's maybe why you don't put like a win number on it, like because of that. But say they go out and say you can be 19-11 and have like 3 or 4 good wins. You can be 22 and whatever and not have any good wins. It's the weird state of college basketball these days. So I don't know if a specific number on it other than maybe it is tournament or bust. Like that would be very cut and dry. But I don't know. And I can read into what John said whichever way we want to read it, which will probably be useful to him a year from now if they're close, and it'll depend which way the wind is blowing.
Well, we'll see. But let me ask you a question. It's just semantics. Losing 20 games or losing 19, does it really matter? Or does 20 sounds, like we talked about, 20 sounds a lot. For some reason, 19 doesn't. But does this game mean a lot, the Virginia game, or it just doesn't really matter?
I'd say both. Like, you prefer not to, but, like, no. Does it actually mean something? You'd rather not. That said, if you do, like, the season's going to stink either way. I don't think 19 versus 20 is going to change who you're getting out of the portal, and that's the real big question going forward. So I don't think it's going to change that.
The interesting part is, lastly, it couldn't just be a flip-flop. We were 20-12 last year. We could be 12-20 this year. I mean, that'd be the interesting part.
Yeah. Well, what are they? Are they at 13 wins now? I think they've picked up 13 wins by now. So I guess they'd be slightly ahead of the pack. But there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, Scooter.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. And to Scooter's point, and I think a lot of you said that. We were all in the chat hanging out. Great crowd, large crowd. It was a volatile crowd during the John Wildhack interview earlier today on Orange Nation. But John said that meaningful games in March. And what's a meaningful game in March? The ACC tournament? The ACC tournament semifinals? This game against Virginia on Saturday, it's March. What if that game was for the 5th seed in the ACC? Is that meaningful? A first 4 game? A first-round game, a Sweet 16 game, what's meaningful? Exactly. Now, what we don't know, and for everyone, why didn't you ask him that? You think he was going to say that? Well, they have to make the tournament. He's not going to say that. Did he once ever say last year that Dino had to win 7 games? No. Clearly he did, and clearly Dino knew that. So, and Red's not going to say out loud either. That's not who he is, what's been communicated to him about what he's got to do next year. We'll play back for you in a bit, Red's thoughts on where things are at right now. He's disappointed, but yeah, it's not good. The season stinks. Everyone knows it needs to be better. But that phrasing, it leaves a little wiggle room. And if you are people in charge, sometimes you want to leave a little wiggle room because you never quite know in this world what 12 months from now is going to bring. All right, let's take a break. Phone lines remain open here for the next bit, 315-437-7644. We'll check in with J.J. Starling as well on the other side. We're back next year on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Are they on 12? Why did I think they had 13, CBW? Who can... I guess that's my point, that it doesn't... What's the difference if I can't even remember? Well, yeah, I agree with you there, Super Cat. I agree with you there. Like, get to the freaking tournament. What is their record? I clicked the wrong button. Well, they're 12 and 18. All right. Hey, look, it's Mike.
Hello.
Zoop.
I have a question for you.
All right.
Do you think you could run faster on land than a turtle swims in water?
No.
They get pretty fast.
Yeah. Turtles get humming.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Like even small ones.
Yeah.
Honestly, things swimming is such an intriguing thing to me. Like the fact that
the idea of swimming,
like the speed in which aquatic animals move in the water is incredible to me.
I see you've put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah, it's just like crazy. That's all I got for you on the topic, but it's just like, I don't know. Things that swim is just wild. Like they get cooking.
The fact that swimming exists.
No, not swimming. The speed in which the swimming is occurring.
Oh.
Like a shark is just like there. You know what I mean?
Well, I bet turtles are baffled by how fast things are happening up here on the land.
Probably, actually.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
I don't know. They kind of get going on land too sometimes. Get one scared enough, and it's just like...
Just depends if those rabbits in the race are, stopping for breaks or not.
That is true.
Keeping it moving.
Which, honestly, what a terrible story. Like, the hare's not just going to fall asleep in the middle of a race.
He was cocky. That was a cocky little hare.
He was, but still, like, come on, dude.
Take a little nap.
No
Could
one
you imagine
takes
if
a
you were
nap.
watching that race and they're just like,
what's going on, man?
the two-man race. Why is one of the people sleeping?
And nobody woke him up? Like, not one person was like, hey, man, you should probably not do this.
Maybe they all laid significant plus money on the turtle.
Does he not have a trainer or, like, assuming with races you don't have pit stop crews, but, I feel like they got an equivalent somehow.
That's part of the cockiness. He didn't think he needed that.
No, that's true. I bet you his, like, old trainers, like, watching at home, like,
yeah.
get what you deserve.
Yeah, you shouldn't have fired me, stinking hair.
I got a family to support, man.
You take that nap.
How am I supposed to survive on 15 carrots a week, man? Ump my pay.
Which is ironic. He's getting paid in carrots because the trainer's not a rabbit.
That's why he's so mad.
Yeah,
well, honestly, we're assuming the trainer's not a rabbit. We don't know.
I don't know.
We need a prequel. The tortoise and the hare.
Yeah, you go. It's just, I don't know if the tortoise is in that story. It's just the hare at the Olympics or something.
Speaking of prequels, I've been watching a bunch of like description videos on the history of Hunger Games, and their most recent one was a prequel, so it made me think. Of it. Which was a good movie. I'm not gonna lie. It was like Songbirds and Snakes. Have you ever watched any of the?
I'm aware of the Hunger Games, but no, I've not seen them.
Great movies. Like
I'm
unironically
aware
great
of
movies.
Katniss and the
like
people.
the hype train when they first like started coming out definitely like hurt it in a lot of people's eyes, I feel. But like overall, great movies.
Like, I've heard they're good. I just have never.
I'm a big like totalitarian government type of guy. Like I think those kinds of movies. No, adamantly against it. But I think it's very interesting when I watch movies about it. Like, have you ever seen The Giver? Or read the book?
Of the what?
The Giver.
Like George Gipp?
No, give.
Oh,
like
Giver?
I'm giving you something. Yeah.
No.
Very, very good.
I don't know if there's an authoritarian government in the story of George Gipp.
No. The Giver is about this society
You correct me. Win one for the Gipper to the gulag with all of you.
It's about this society that creates this like utopia, and they erase history from like the history books so it can't repeat itself in their mind. And they have one person that has all the memories, and he will transfer, or she will transfer them to the receiver. They're called.
That sounds like a big job.
It's a super good movie. Fantastic. I bet the book's better, but I don't read. So.
That was a scintillating 4.5 minutes.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, back at it here on a Thursday. We got a call coming in. We can sneak in a call before JJ Starling interview if we like. 315-437-7644. Chatted with JJ this morning. He is, at practice right now, which would make him unavailable at the moment, getting ready for their final dome game, final regular season game of the year, as Syracuse takes on Virginia this upcoming Saturday at 8 o'clock at night. That's a snappy little turnaround in the dome this week. 8 o'clock at night on Saturday. Lax game is 2 in the afternoon on Sunday. So we'll keep it. That's a nice little fast turnaround there. Just get out. All right. With that, speaking of the person that'll be playing in the game on Saturday, he is JJ Starling. Tough one for JJ the other night. 3 of 17 shooting, and thought he had a shot on the last play of the game. With that, here is our conversation, as always, brought to you by RomanoCars.com. We bring in our guy JJ Starling here after, what a week. It felt like you played the same game twice there, JJ, where you had it and then moments down the stretch and they slide away. Take me to literally the last second of SMU. When that ball left your hand, did you think it was in?
I did think it was in, I'm not going to lie. It felt good when I released it, but it just didn't drop. And that was like the story of, the game from, me, that whole game. I had a lot of good looks, and either they rattle in and out or, they just were there and just missed. So, yeah, it was just unfortunate.
You could almost see like the world flashing before your eyes there. You're standing there, the SMU team's like around you. You're like, what the heck? Get out of the way here. What's that moment like there when you're just watching it all happen there at the end?
Yeah, but for me, it just not even just for me personally. I just know like what we've been through as a team and how hard we've been working, and just to come up short this many times, it definitely hurts. So
when you look at the way, especially the last two games, right? Because you guys had the lead. It's right there at the end, and literally it slips away. It's a rebound. It's a shot. It's a free throw. It's really small stuff, right? When you look at the end of the game, how frustrating are those games when you know you had a legit chance to win them?
Like I said, it's very frustrating. Just given the fact that we did our job, to get that lead in the first place, and then, like you said, it's just a couple moments or a couple of possessions where we're maybe not locked in as much as we need to be, and they capitalize off that, and we end up paying for it.
And it's an interesting balance, right? Because there's no win for you guys on Tuesday. I'd say for the first, I don't know what you think, JJ, 30, 35 minutes, whatever it was. I thought it was the best ball you guys had played all year. How do you balance that where you put out, what you did for a while, and maybe it's not enough, but you're still showing that you got a little something in the tank at this point?
Yeah, it just all comes down to us still doing what we need to do to win games. And just trying to put that together for 40 minutes. Luckily, we made it into the postseason, so I mean, it's not like we're not capable of winning these games or doing what we need to do to give us a chance to win games. So I think it's just all about learning what we need to do better in crunch time and not having those, mental errors.
JJ Starling with us. It's our finally weekly visit with JJ, brought to us by RomanoCars.com. We got one left here in the regular season. Virginia on Saturday. Whatever you guys get down in Charlotte starting Tuesday next week. Saturday I find is interesting. Like in this era of transfer portal and guys all over the place. I don't know what senior day is anymore, JJ. What's it like for you this week to watch it? There's 4 guys that came in, here for just the 1 year that'll go through it. Naheem was here for 2 years. He'll have it. What is a day like this like when it's not really the traditional 4 years and it's a big culmination anymore?
I think it still means a lot to me and to the seniors. Because at the end of the day, they have, their family, their friends coming to the game, and that's the most important. Those are the people who stick with you no matter if you're, winning or losing, no matter what times you're going through. So I feel like it means a lot. It probably is like the fans, they don't put as much emphasis or importance on it, but it still means a lot to be able to, 1, graduate, and then 2, be able to make it that long in, your respective sport.
And it certainly means that, when we get to next Tuesday and beyond, not only are you guys playing for your lives this season, but that group is playing for their lives and their career. How much do you think that's going to add to the, emotion, the emphasis, the whatever you want to put on it when you get on the court in Charlotte on Tuesday?
Yeah, it's going to put a lot of emphasis on that. I mean, we've been harping on that this whole, season now. Coach Red has done a good job of trying to get us to rally together, and especially, communicating to the seniors like, hey, this might be your last opportunity, to play college basketball or to play basketball, period, and I feel like that really resonated with us and will allow us to, get early leads because we know, we're playing for our lives. It's just that, we're not putting it together. But hopefully in the postseason, we can really put 40 minutes together.
Yeah, heck, I don't know if you watched it yesterday, JJ, with the women's team, but you see the emotions, right, come down when they got the lead. It goes away. A player like Georgia Woolley has the last chance for a shot, and it doesn't go, and you see the emotions hit you. It's got to be wild, right, to see that from people to have it hit as hard and as fast as it does in a moment like that.
Yeah, it definitely does.
We got JJ Starling with us here as we're getting ready for the end of the season. Are you in at all on these standings here? I don't know who the heck you guys are going to be playing next week. Do you pay any attention to that based on what's going to happen, or you just go out and play on Saturday?
Nah, just go out and play because at the end of the day, we're going to have to do what we need to do regardless of who we play. So.
Yeah, does it matter at all who you guys run into on Tuesday when it comes to it? And it could still be, I was staring at it a few minutes ago, it could still be a variety of teams. So trying to figure it out at this moment is probably a waste of time. Kind of strange, too. You guys are literally the last game in the ACC of the regular season. You're the last game to tip off. So the second you leave the court, we'll be able to figure it all out on Saturday night against Virginia. What do you make of this Virginia team, JJ? They've had their struggles this season. They got a big win earlier this week. What are you looking at Virginia and what they're bringing when they come in on Saturday?
Yeah, obviously their struggles and their season doesn't reflect, the type of team that they are. So, especially they're coming in, they want to ruin, Sweden night. So they're going to be playing hard. They're going to be playing aggressive. So we're just going to have to match the intensity. And they're like I said, they're a really good team. They play together. So we just got to be able to match that.
I'm curious, JJ, you've been through it before with the transfer portal. It's now so present in college basketball. Do you guys as a team, can you set that aside, or does it start peeking in? Because, literally in college sports these days, like everybody every year has a decision to make. Is that something you all can put to the side till it's over, or does it start peeking its way in at this point?
No, I think we can put it to the side. I know me personally, I'm not thinking about that right now, or I just want to do what I need to do for these next few games. And like I said before, make a run in the postseason, because it's not like we're not capable of doing that.
Did you see that too? SMU, had you gotten it on Tuesday, would have been your biggest win of the season, right? Like the fact that you had that game where it was, does that give you a little confidence? Because obviously you go on a run in the ACC tournament, you're going to run into them or Clemson or Louisville or Duke or whatever. Does doing that against them on Tuesday give you a little confidence that when you hit one of the the big boys in the league this year, that you can knock them off?
Yeah, I feel like we had that confidence before. I mean, it's not like there was a thought in our mind that no matter what team we end up playing in the ACC, we're not capable of beating. We all had that thought in our mind that if we do what we need to do and lock in onto the keys and the scout, then we're being able to compete with anybody. So that hasn't been a thought in our heads.
All right. Well, you're guaranteed at least 2 more, JJ. Hopefully you get a bunch next week down in Charlotte. Appreciate the time all season long, and good luck however it goes in the next week. But thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, there he is. JJ Starling is always brought to us all season long by our friends at RomanoCars.com. RomanoCars.com. 315-437-7644. Phone lines wide open here for the next half hour or so. Gary Gate after that. Talking Lax, Cuse Hopkins, Sunday, 2 o'clock in the Dome. We're back next year on this hour, brought to you by, who are we brought to you by? William Matar. That's who we're brought to you by. 444-4444. All the fours. You know the deal. We're back after this. Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio.
Hey.
Oh, man. And thus ends our JJ Starling conversations for the year. Whew. Well, Poppy, let's think about why he shows up. It's not for herself. My bracket. I haven't done a bracket. The bracket of making fun of Paulie's bracket. This team is in the NIT with Copeland? You think Quadir is going to flip 6 games this year? Oh, man. I like you, but him flipping 6 games? That's a lot. That would hurt my brain putting it together, Mike. I mean, I don't see that. He did play with an attitude. There was also some other attitude issues. The attitude was part of it. Homer villainy. 12? Full sprint, yeah. Okay. It's faster than you 12 minutes faster than you think, though. Like, you're not walking at 12 miles an hour. You got to give it a little hustle. Well, yeah, 12 miles an hour is well, Mike, 12 miles. I mean, think about this. 12 miles an hour is a 5-minute mile. So you got to Yeah, but you're not running. I know what I'm saying. You got to move. Like, you're not doing it at a jog.
12 is fast. I think.
All right, like in a sprint, like I'm sure I could do it for more than 0 seconds, but like how long are they doing 12 miles an hour? I think they might be able to endurance me here. Like, that's a 5-minute mile.
You're gonna get to 12 way quicker than you are, too.
Yeah, like I've never run a 5-minute mile in my life.
Well, I'm assuming it's like a 100-yard dash.
Well, then maybe I've got a shot.
Yeah, if we did a 100-yard dash,
Yeah, I'd say we gotta get a sprint.
and sea turtles, they only get up to about 21 miles an hour, which also is slower than
20. Like that's.
I mean, it is a sea turtle, you know. I feel like
Yeah, I'd say, but 21 miles an hour, that's like the fastest NFL player. Yeah, at full sprint. That's like Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm losing that race.
I guess
Like, I'll beat them in my car. Ooh, Doug's Fish Fry? I miss Doug's being on Manlius Center Road, or even what it became after it was Doug's. I miss that building being a fish fry. Yeah, a chat bracket. That's what I'm saying, Milk Apples. So there's no way I haven't been timed in a mile, I'm sure, since I was in high school.
Why? It's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, back at it here on a Thursday. Phone lines open and available to you. 315-437-7644. So we played a little John Wildhack for you from earlier on Orange Nation. Gary Gate will join us here talking lax coming up about 5:15 here today. Red Autry weekly visit with Orange Nation also today, brought to you by Oswego County Mutual. And Paulie has something at the end of the interview to Red that was essentially like, there's more than 0 people out there that think you guys are okay with this. And I think we all know that's not the case, but probably, Red, where's Red's emotion? Where's this? Where's that? Here's this.
No way. No way. Like, what is there to be okay with? You know what? Sometimes I think these people or whoever calls in or whoever has these questions, like, no one, that has went to the school, graduated, played here, could imagine or want, and I'm now here running a program to be happy with 13 wins or 12 wins or whatever it is. Right? Like, what are they talking about? What's okay? We understand, again, I want to win more than anybody else. I feel like I'm letting the whole, my alumni, former players, our fan base. I was a part of great teams, here. So again, this is, weighing on me more than anybody else. I bleed orange. I raised my family here. I brought my family here and raised them here. They bleed orange. So, I think that's probably the most disappointing thing is when people say things like that. And John Wildhack is an alum as well, and he's on his job. Everybody wants to be good at their job. Everybody wants success at their job, and especially what we're in, the business that we're in and what this means to this community, this fan base, this brand. Like, who would be okay with this? No one. Everyone's fighting tooth and nail to get this thing right, to get it back. And I know we're going in the right direction. I know it's going to change. I have no doubt about that.
All right, there was Red from earlier today on Orange Nation. For those that wanted a little zest, a little fire, a little something from Red. I think it goes back to all this. And John Wildhack officially said to probably the surprise of some. The people that are surprised by what John said earlier today are the ones that don't believe we're telling the truth when we tell you things or tell you what we believe. We've told you all along that Adrian Utcher would be back next year, and John said that Adrian Utcher will be back next year. But, like, he gets it. They all get it. This season is not good enough. Period. Full stop. End of sentence. Not good enough. If you have this season again next year, I would be very surprised if there is another season after that. The question is, and this is what Scooter asked earlier, where's the line? Some people, like in the chat earlier today, were infuriated by the idea that John Wildhack didn't come out here and say exactly what the line is out loud. Like, okay, it's just, we deserve to know. Do we deserve to know? Like, it would be nice. And I struggle with this. Like, while we all like to know everything, like, would it be nice to know on one hand? Yeah, I guess it would be nice to know. But imagine like, if the Dino year, if we knew it was 7 all year and we're just counting. Whew. Forget about the football side of things. Just on the fan side of things, that would just be exhausting. And in basketball, it would be like triply exhausting. Must win 20 games. Okay, they're at 13, and you're rooting like, all right, it's the red matrix, like all this stuff up there. Like, it's Syracuse basketball. What is the one thing we want? We want to watch them play in the NCAA tournament. Syracuse basketball. That's what we want. Obviously, you want success in the NCAA tournament. You want all that. It's Syracuse basketball. You want to play in games that matter. You want to play in NCAA tournament games. You want the program to matter because it has mattered for years and years and years. This year on the national stage, the program does not matter. That's what stinks. That's what stinks more than anything else. Next year, and I think it's going to be, you're going to know it if you see it. Syracuse basketball needs to matter again. It needs to matter. Does that mean being ranked? Does that mean being in the tournament? What's it mean? We'll know it if we see it. Like, if you're watching the games this year, they matter to us. They don't matter. They only matter to us. That's the problem. They matter to the team. They matter to you. They matter to me. We watch them. We're invested in that SMU game on Tuesday night. Didn't matter to anybody else. Next year, it would be nice to watch a game that matters to more than just us. Right? If you're in the NCAA tournament, the game matters to more than just you. If you're playing a big game on a Saturday night that's got some stakes to it, if you're playing an ACC tournament quarterfinal, semifinal game that's got some stakes to it, it matters. It'd be nice to watch and talk about a game that matters to more than just us. That would be nice. Again, what is that? We'll know it when we see it. And if that doesn't happen next year, or if it comes, I guess the real tough part is if it comes close to happening, right? Like if they're on the bubble. Like, are you really saying to Red, all right, no tournament, you're fired? Maybe that's what you're saying. Could you imagine, though, if you're Red, no tournament, you're fired, and you're like legitimately on the bubble, and you are watching Selection Sunday to find out if some dudes in the room have decided that you're going to be fired or not? Like, that's why I don't know if it's as cut and dry as that. Like, with football, it's different, right? John Wildhack said, Dino, 7 wins. Cut and dry. With basketball, you add in the selection committee and net rankings and all the crap we talked about last year all the time that, unfortunately, we haven't gotten to talk about this year at all. Yeah, I think that changes things potentially a little bit. Like, say you're on the bubble, and we've all been here on Selection Sunday before, right? Syracuse on the bubble. Syracuse doesn't make it. What is the first thing we all... Syracuse got screwed. It's the first thing we all say. Oh, Syracuse got screwed. I can't believe they screwed us again. Do you fire the head coach after a got screwed moment? I don't know. But, again, that's a 12 months from now problem. That's a 12 months from now problem. Maybe in 10 months we'll know it's not a 12 months from now problem. Hopefully in the good way, maybe in the bad way. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. At least 2 more games to go this season. Virginia on Saturday, question mark on Tuesday, and then win for another question mark on Wednesday and beyond. With that, we'll take a break. Phone lines remain open to start hour 2 next. 315-437-7644 for ESPN 44. Gary Gate talking lax about 15 minutes out, getting you ready for Cuse and Hopkins Sunday, 2 o'clock in the Dome. We're back next year on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Yeah, that's what I got no idea, Coach D. Because clearly last year with Dino, there was a difference. Yeah, Jake, I mean, exactly. My afternoon, CBW, afternoon would be great. Realistically, though, Jordan and I were trying to figure this before. There's way too many tie breaks. Realistically, it's looking like either 4:30 or 7, but we'll see. I don't know if Dino's doing... hopefully he's enjoying life, Milk Apples. I have not heard he's gotten another gig. He's retirement age if he wants to. My dream for Dino is he moves to Hawaii and sells pineapples on the beach. Well, I guarantee you this, CBW, it won't be 11:30 p.m. because the latest the game is going to start, barring something incredibly stupid, is around 7. But, yeah. I would love to go visit a Dino Babers Caribbean Shrimp Shack. Super Cat, I bet it would be fantastic. I don't know what you're talking about, Gavendo. Pat is on the up and up. Nothing strange happened at all. I always thought, fella Ferda, or Melk, both of you, that like after 2018, like if DeVito had worked, like Dino had a chance to be the modern Coach Mac. And boy, howdy, did that not happen. Oh, you're going to have a shrimp shack? All right. Great. Yeah, I don't necessarily care who the proprietor is if it's a good shrimp shack. Yeah, I don't count the COVID year against Dino. Like, yeah, they went 1-10 that year, whatever it was. That was not the worst thing he did. That was not his downfall. The COVID year, I just flush it. Like, I don't even care about that. Yeah, good for Tommy. Like, Dino's good people, but man, those last few years just kind of trailed off. Yeah, Dungy helped. Also, like, just having a great offensive line that year helped. Yeah, I'm sure Eric wouldn't turn it down.
Review our status here, Si. Let's look at this thing from a standpoint of status.
Can't go backwards. Can't go forward. What am I gonna do?
Hey, what happened? Lisa, if you don't like your job, you don't strike. You just go in every day and do it really half-assed. That's the American way.
I hope it's happy hour.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
This is a great day. A really great day. All across CNY, it's the 315 with Brian Higgins. Halfway home, we drive into the second hour with Burdick BMW.
That we do. Hour 2 upon us here. 315-437-7644. If you'd like to chime in the next few. Gary Gate, 10 minutes out, talking Lax Q's Hopkins. Coming up this Sunday in the Dome at 2 o'clock. What have we done so far today? We've talked a lot about John Wildhack officially confirming year 3 for Red Autry next year to no great surprise despite the frankly terrible season that is on progress right now for Orange men's basketball. At minimum 2 games remaining, Saturday and Tuesday at the ACC tournament, and we'll see if and how many they can win down there in Charlotte this year. But, I find this interesting that, and I understand why it happened, like the jump out thoughts and interest and whatever we want to talk about from Wildhack earlier today is the stuff on Red. But And go back and watch it if you haven't. Wildhack was on for 15-ish, 16-ish minutes with Stephen Pauly earlier today. Check it out on our YouTube page at Q Sports Talk on YouTube. So the Red part was, a small kind of contained part of the conversation. Much of their conversation today was about the $20.5 million that's coming up in rev share handed out to the teams, about NIL, about stuff going forward. And I understand why the thing we talk about most out of that is Red. Realistically, the most important part of that conversation, RE, the immediate and sustained future of the athletic department, is the other stuff, is the money stuff. Because that's the stuff that really, whoever's going to be the head coach of Orange basketball a few years from now, that other stuff is still going to loom large regardless. A couple of things one of the things I think that stuck out about John Wildhack is, they were talking about the revenue sharing, and it's already been out there. He announced it 2 weeks ago that they're going to make sure they fully fund the $20.5 million. One thing that I am still intrigued by is, all right, if you come up a little short in the fundraising, your budget just went up $20 million. Where are the minus lines coming out of? That'll be something that hopefully they don't have to figure out down the line, because $20 million is a non-insignificant chunk of change here going forward. But this kind of just skidded through there, I feel out earlier. That John said, right now there's multiple collectives out there. There's Orange United, which is kind of housed within the university, sort of. There's the football one with Joe Burton. There's the one that's the doing good stuff one. I can't keep track of all their names. John said that process is going to be streamlined. There's 3 collectives right now. He said the football collective is going to remain. So it sounds like Syracuse is going to kind of reel back its collective game to target it more. And he said end of June. Why would you say end of June? The university fiscal year ends at the end of June, and that is generally when you re-situate stuff like that. So I think that's going to be interesting going forward. How are the NIL elements going to combine with the revenue share elements? Now, from a player receiving money perspective, what the hell do they care? They just want to know how much they're getting. They don't care if it's coming from rev share. They don't care if it's coming from NIL. If you're Donnie Freeman, J.J. Starling, the next quarterback of Syracuse football, what the hell do you care where the money's coming from? As long as them checks cash, as long as they show up in your account when you log in. But, and I say this, and that's why they're making hires in that area of the athletic department right now. That organization, of all of those things, is the most important part of that job right now, of making sure, twofold, that the money is coming in and that it's being sent to the right places. That the money's coming in and it's being sent to the right places. Because, in the old quaint times of, yesteryear, like 4 or 5 years ago, it's like, oh, we need a new building. Let's go try to raise some money and, see which of our donors want to get a name on a water fountain or whatever. And, people would donate and whatever. It was all nice and fun, and maybe they'd get a ride on a plane to a road football game or whatever. Now it's like, okay, like, it was always big money. Now we need $20 million here. We need. It's not we want, we desire. It's we need. And this money needs to, flow in for one, and flow in a way where before, if you were a donor and you wanted to donate to this or wanted to donate to that, it's great. We love your money. You want to donate to the football team? That's fantastic. Like, what can we, here's what we need. Now it's, okay, this is what we absolutely need. I understand that this is your desire for your donations, but it needs to be kind of shoved in certain directions as gently and pleasantly as possible. And for guys like anyone, that's John Wildhack, any athletic director in the country would reasonably have to agree to that now. It's not so much about, the day in, day out running an athletic department anymore. That's important. But if you don't have the funds, and you don't have the funds properly allocated to run the athletic department, the rest of it almost doesn't matter anymore, because the money is so big, and it's an oil tanker. Like, it takes a while to turn these things around if you got to point it in the right direction. So I think, we sit here in March. It's March 6th. So March, April, May, June, 4 months from now, when we tick over into July, I think we're going to hear some stuff about Syracuse collectives and, streamlining that and what's going where and how money's coming in. Because even though, people hear the $20.5 million and you think, oh, that's great, they got $20 million, problem solved. Well, no, it's another bill. It's another bill that's got to be paid for. It's another bill that has to be paid for. It's not a bill that they desire to pay for. It's one that that bill's coming due this next calendar year. Budget done going up by $20 million, and somebody's got to pay for it. With that, we will take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little Orange lacrosse. We'll do that with the head coach. He is Gary Gate, getting you ready for Cuse and Hopkins on this Sunday, 2 o'clock in the Dome. It's Hopkins week. That's always fun. We'll talk to Gary next year on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
Syracuse.
That'd be a bold play, Coach D. Brian will not go, Kev. Oh, you can bet lacrosse, milk apples. Oh, yeah. I have not seen the line due to being in New York and it being a pain in the butt to look up those things. But, oh, yeah, you can bet lacrosse. Yeah, that's a very legitimate question, Luke. Cavendo believes in Adrian Autry and the Sasquatch. Is Bigfoot donating to NIL? That's a great question, Phil. What is the weather on Saturday? Should we all go apple picking? I clicked on the wrong app. Yeah, it's going to snow again. It's 30 degrees right now. High on Saturday is 32. Looks clear. I still need to take down my freaking Christmas lights. Every weekend, the weather has been just heinous. Or they've been buried under snow. I can actually see a lot of them again now. What's up, Seth? Well, yeah, that's how budgets and other sports exist, LA Arch. Bigfoot would be, We need hire Bigfoot as the big man coach. Yeah, I just haven't had time that is lined up with weather that is lined up with me wanting to get on a ladder or dig through snow piles. Like, it needs to be done, but it's just not come together yet. Hopefully this weekend. Saturday looks like it could be the play. The good news is it's not like our house is the only one in the neighborhood that's just done the same thing. But I'm sure you'll be back for the post-game show, Coach D, and the pregame show. We know you will. Do what you want during the game, but the hour before and the hour after, you get your butt over here. Damn, Phil. Probably not Central Sec.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, rolling along here on this Thursday. Obviously, talked a lot of hoops today. It's gonna be a quick little turnaround at the Dome this weekend. Spring forward it all. 8 o'clock hoops game on Saturday night. Lose the hour, and then 2 o'clock face off for Orange Lax on Sunday. But it's Cuse and Hopkins. Always fun. Two good teams. Top 10 matchup. Two teams with Final Four national championship aspirations and all that good stuff coming up in the Dome on Sunday. And with that, we bring on the head coach of the Orange. He is Gary Gay. Thanks for hopping on, Gary. Good to see you.
Oh, great to be here. Thank you.
All right, so we're getting ready for Cuse and Hopkins here this Sunday, and you know the history of this game, Gary, going back to when you were playing and before. Like, how much is that resonating with the current players? Is this still a game that grabs them as a massive rivalry game here this week?
Yeah, I believe it does. Especially if you follow the media over the last couple of years, we're both programs with great histories and a good rivalry that are trying to get back to Final Four weekend, championship weekend, and win another national championship. So a lot of people have conversations about, are they back? Are they back? And they're usually talking about Syracuse and Hopkins.
Yeah, and that's been conversations going on, as you said, Gary, for years and years now. And, like, to some extent, the answer is yes, right? Like, both you guys are in the conversation, legit in the mix. The other extent is it's the second week of March here. Like, nobody's back to anything yet, right? When Memorial Day weekend's involved. How do you balance those two things where this is a massive game on Sunday, but the path to Memorial Day is still a ways away at this point?
Oh, yeah, we still play I think 6 of the top 8 teams in the country. So we still got lots of great teams ahead of us, and Hopkins being, number 7 right now, and they're the opportunity to get back, up in that top echelon and that top group. And I think we're right there. We just need to play well and execute. And, I think the guys are excited. They know it's a rivalry. There's pressure, but, hopefully we got them in a good mindset where they can execute.
All right, let's go back to last week in Utah. So you had the back-to-back losses with Maryland and Harvard. How important was last week for you guys? Just all right, we need to stop this now and get back on track.
Oh, it was important. We let one slip away with Harvard. We came out on fire and got up 5-0 and let them back in the game and weren't able to get that tying goal at the end to give ourselves a chance. So, that was, coming off a tough Maryland game where, they're now number one team in the country, just beat Notre Dame. They were really good, and it just shows that you can have predictions of who's going to be the top teams, but it really comes down to what happens on the field. And, we got that great opportunity in front of us come Sunday.
I go back to the two losses, and they were very, very different games, Gary, with Maryland and Harvard there back-to-back. And obviously, Maryland year in and year out is going to be there, and Harvard's a ranked team as well. Is there anything from those games, like, you're not going undefeated. It's just not really feasible with your schedule or the way college lacrosse is these days. But was there anything from those two games that were like, all right, like this is a thing that needs to be fixed to win the games when they matter down the stretch?
I think the biggest thing we got out of it is that we got to stick to team lacrosse for a full 60 minutes. I think we get up. We've been playing very well in the first quarter of games, and we've been getting up on teams, and, we need to be able to keep that going. And sometimes it's just human nature to change what you're doing a little bit because it is, I'll score. We'll score anytime, so I'll take this shot, when it's not, the best shot we can get. So we've really just worked with our guys to make sure that they truly buy into playing team lacrosse for a full 60 minutes. And I think if we do that, we can beat anybody.
Yeah, I find that interesting, Gary, too, because, I've talked to a lot of people about this. Like, when you guys are humming, like, as you said, in a lot of the first quarters this year or at various points of the year, go back to last year, like, when that ball's moving and, you're scoring 4, 5, 6 goals in a row like that, there's nothing prettier in the country, right? Like, when it's moving around like that. How hard is it, you mentioned, if it's the foot coming off the gas, if it's the other team junking it up, whatever it is, how hard is that to, restart that midway through a game?
Sometimes it's hard. We've proven that it's been hard for us to do it. That once we kind of change our the way we're playing, it's hard to get back to the start of the game. And we're working on that as coaches. We're working on adjusting our halftime to try and get them come out like they do in the first quarter. So last year, we were having a tough time getting good starts to games. And this year it seems to be after halftime we're having trouble. So we're going to try and bring that beginning of the game feeling to the third quarter and see if that helps.
Yeah, go figure. You fix one problem, right, and then a different one springs up. It's kind of the way it goes. Tough loss for you, Jackson Burtwhistle going down with the injury a couple games ago. I know he'd been such an important guy on the extra man. Man, he scored a ton of extra man goals the last couple of years. How big of a loss for you, Gary, is that on your EMO?
It's definitely a loss. Now we have someone in there without the same amount of experience, and it just knocks us down just a hair, but we're hoping that we can get that person up to speed. Right now it's been Greg Elijah Brown, who is played at OCC for a couple years and did really well there. Was on the team last year and, really a man-up specialist playing inside. He's got great hands, and we're hoping that he'll, help that man up, stay consistent and score some more goals. So I think, it's really important that we keep practicing and we keep getting better in every aspect of the game.
You can't make it up, right, Gary? I mean, the game Jackson gets injured, go figure, you're on the extra man, right? It's the Harvard game late in the game, and the ball ends up in Greg's stick, right, with the game on the line. Like that's something you couldn't have possibly made up going in.
Tie the game, and unfortunately, we missed the net. And, that's the way things go at the game. We still got a last-second shot, which I thought was pretty impressive that we were able to get the ball back and get that shot off. And they blocked it, and got another stop on us. But you know what? Our guys don't quit. They're going to play till the end. That's one thing that, you know, trying to get back on top. They've always been willing to leave it on the field for 60 minutes, but we just got to be a little bit more consistent.
Gary Gate with us. And Hopkins in the Dome Sunday, 2 o'clock. Always a great show when those two teams take the field together, be it in Cuse or Baltimore or wherever else they've run into each other over the years. You know, Gary, we had John O'Dearna on yesterday, and we were talking a lot about your goalie in Jimmy McCool. And you go back to the last couple of years with Will Mark, they just seem so stylistically different as goalies. What's it been like changing from what Will was the last couple of years to what you have with Jimmy this year?
You got to just take what you have and use it and try and give them the support that they need. And, you know, I think Jimmy just needs to know where the shots are coming from and keep them kind of consistent, a little bit of pressure on him. And he's played well. He's only had one tough game this year. He's played really well, you know, for 5 of the 6 games. So, you know, we're pretty happy with the way he's playing, you know, and people don't realize that there may have been some added pressure on him against a really good offensive Harvard team that, you know, a kid from Boston starting against his buddies that all play for Harvard. So I think there was a little added pressure on that. And, you know, we'll work on his mental toughness. And, you know, he rebounded pretty well against Utah. And I'm hoping he's ready for Hopkins.
Yeah, probably a little more trash talk out there as well in that Harvard game as well late in the first half. Yeah, and it's certainly a great rebound. That had to be really encouraging, right? Because Utah, I get it, their record's not great, but they beat Ohio State, who's a solid team, and they had some close losses. For your defense to go out there and basically smother them for 3 out of the 4 quarters had to be really encouraging.
It was, and it's, you know, I think it's the fewest goals that team scored in 36 games. Something like that.
Yeah, it was a long while. Yeah.
Yeah. So our defense, you know, when they're on, they're very good, and we've proven that in games now. We just need to kind of take that and execute against the big dogs. You know, this run where we got the second half of the season. Like I said, starting with Hopkins, we're playing, you know, 6 of the top 8 teams. So we got to be ready, and we got to be dialed in, and we got to be able to execute against the best of the best.
Yeah, Notre Dame's on that list. North Carolina's on that list. Duke for sure. Cornell for sure. The schedule. You already played Maryland. The schedule does not go figure. Virginia's the one team that's not in that group, at least at the moment this year. Carolina's got to impress you. I don't know how much you've seen them. Like, they were a team, right, picked to finish last in the ACC. Now they're what, 3rd or 4th in the country. It tells you how tough the schedule is here this year.
It's awful early in the season yet. You know, we all got big games ahead of us. So, you know, they're playing well, though. You know, they're executing, they're getting wins. So, you know, they beat this Hopkins team by a goal. So, you know, they got by it, and let's hope that we do the same.
All right, yeah. Hopkins has played, 4 1-goal games already this year, so most of their games have been close. All right, Gary, I got to ask you this. For those with us on Q Sports Talk, they can see you're in your car here, but you were on Orange Nation a couple days ago, and I don't even know what you were saying, because I was just staring behind you at what appeared to be like a throne made of lacrosse sticks. What? It looked like Game of Thrones met lacrosse and sprung to life.
One of my projects that I personally did, I put together a Game of Thrones lacrosse stick throne for our social media and recruiting purposes. You know, I saw everybody using the throne in their photo shoots when a kid would come visit, and I'm like, I'm going to make a lacrosse throne. And so we did. And, you know, it lights up, it changes colors, it does all sorts of things. So it's actually sitting in my office because I had to do a bunch of repairs. It was in the locker room, and it got beat up a little bit and fixing. So now I'm going to use it in my office. So when the administration comes in, I'll sit in there and sit in the throne for those meetings. And when recruits come in, I'll put them in the throne, you know, make them feel like the king.
That's a good power move there. I think you got to put it behind your desk, Gary. Just make it your chair, like of all times. Like
I'm not
that's
that
a good way
guy.
to work.
I'd rather let other people enjoy it.
I was really spending way too much time looking at it. It looked like, if I was right, like, what was it, like the orange sticks or men's sticks and the white or women's or opposite? I forget. It looked like a whole mix you had going on there.
I've been trying to find a home for it where fans could come and get photos in it and stuff like that, but I've been unable to crack the code and find a place to put it.
All right. Well, somebody will figure this out in due time, Gary. We'll get this figured out so people can hang out.
Yeah, I've asked for it to go all like in Manly, in the lobby, in the dome. I'm just not having much luck. So
somebody's got to say yes to that. I mean, I bring it to the studio, Gary.
It's okay.
I don't know if we.
It's okay.
I don't know if we got room for it in here, but we'll plop our butts down in it. All right, Gary. Appreciate the time as always. Best of luck on Sunday. Should be a blast. Hopefully, you get a big crowd out there at the Dome, and we'll catch up again here soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, next time I'm on, I'll make sure I get in the throne, and we can take do the interview from there.
100%, Gary. All right, thanks. There he is, our guy Gary Gate, creator of the Game of Thrones lacrosse throne. That is exactly the kind of thing Gary would do and did do. So kind of he was on Orange Nation on Tuesday. I don't know what they were talking about. I tuned it out because I'm just staring at this thing. I'm like, what is that? I need to know more about that. So we've now spent the rest of our week trying to figure out more about that, and I think now that's as thorough an answer as we're ever going to get about that. We went to the proper source himself. All right, with that, we'll take a break. We'll get Mike in here. We'll do a little 411. We'll do that next. It's Q Sports Talk. It is ESPN Radio. About his car? Well, we just couldn't risk it was a car of a non-sponsor. What does Gary? I'm trying to remember what Gary drives. Gary has sold it now. 5-6 years ago, he had this orange Harley that he'd ride around every now and again. Yeah, you can put it in the Victory Court, Rich. What is Gary driving? I am blanking. If it was a hybrid gas or total electric? Yeah, Poppy, it's just going to keep you up at nights. That was my goal, to ruin your evening. Hey, look, it's Mike.
Hello.
The beauty of Gary. Like, he won't really tell you anything about the lacrosse, but he'll break down that throne.
Oh, this one's broken.
You should wear those. Those look great.
Yeah.
That seems to be
Oh, I was going to come in with all the hats on, and I forgot.
too many headphones.
I was going to get the little cop hat, the top hat, the fedora. I can hear so well right now.
Can you? Mike.
I actually can't hear anything.
Well, they're all turned out. Mike.
Which one's actually plugged in?
Here. You can wear the blue ones? That's this one.
Red, yeah, blue ones.
How's that? Mike.
It's a lot worse.
Is it too high or too low?
No, I mean, I can't hear you saying Mike because now I can hear the log.
Oh.
So it's a lot worse because I can't hear you
Mike. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because the headphones.
Yeah, the mic's not, you're not going to hear it at all. Happy walk. Mm-hmm.
Poor Kyrie.
This Super Cat, and this has come up an odd amount of times over the last few years in this chat. This shirt is maroon. I know it shows brownish on the camera for some reason, but this is a very maroon shirt. I'm also not afraid to wear brown, but this is not It looks brownish on the. I know where you're coming from, but I don't know if I own a shirt that looks more different on camera than not on camera than this shirt. Just maroon one, Tim. Just the one.
I don't have any maroon clothing.
This is a very maroon shirt, but on camera it looks very brown. I think it is my shirt that looks the most different in person on camera.
Oh, the phone's ringing.
Brown with red, with yellow, with green. If you say so, Melk. Here in front of my face, it's very maroon. But I feel this comes up almost every time I wear this sweater. Does that color look maroon to you or brown? And the stripe? Because I promise you that's a reddish stripe. Interesting. Yeah. No, I believe you on the monitors how it could look brown. I'm telling you in person, it is not a brown shirt. It was advertised as maroon, and it looks maroon. Oh, the phone's ringing. No. All right. Matt, you said? All right, back at it here on this. What is still Thursday? Who can keep track of these things? All right, we'll get the 411 going here in a second. But right now, let's get a call in first. We got Matt in the car. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Brian. How are you, man?
Good. How are you? What's up?
Good. So I got laryngitis. My apologies. Of course, I'm calling into a radio show. My voice is shot.
I'd say you sound great for having laryngitis. I'll give you that.
I appreciate it. I wanted to just kind of touch on, what Coach Autry needs to do in the portal moving into next season. And obviously, we know we've all talked about it, what the portal was like last year. At the time, we thought it was great. It didn't turn out to be so much. But, I'll preface it by saying, I'm from Syracuse. I did go to school at West Virginia. So I am a Mountaineer.
Okay. We won't hold that against you too much.
But I do have, a rooting interest in the Orange. I love the Orange. I grew up here. I love this team. And, all Syracuse fans need to do is see exactly what West Virginia did in the transfer portal last year. And the reason I say that is because granted, much different circumstances. Bob Higgins was fired after doing all sorts of stuff. Josh Eilert took over. He was the interim coach. And, he had to make do with what he had. Granted, he had Jesse Edwards. That was a great addition for West Virginia. But what ended up happening was they went 9-23. Mm-hmm. It was a terrible season. And almost you look at what Syracuse is going through now, not quite as bad as what West Virginia went through. But what did they do? They found a coach who could coach. Darren DeVries from Drake. He came in. He changed everything around. Now, granted, does West Virginia have a bigger NIL budget than Syracuse? Yeah, absolutely. I donate to Country Roads Trust. I donate to Orange United as well. Granted, I don't, I'm not Adam Weitzman or anyone else, spending all kinds of money, but I am, doing as much as I can. But, this year, they go into the portal, and just quickly, I want to go over some of the guys here. Eduardo Andre, this is a 6'11", 240-pound center, fifth-year guy out of Fresno State. You're telling me there's no way they're spending tons of money on this guy. He's been great this year, defensive stopper in the lane. Joseph Yesufu, great defensive player out of Washington State. Mm-hmm. You look down the list. Toby Okani. This guy came in from Illinois, Chicago. Fifth-year guy. He's a great defensive player, one of the best Big 12 defenders in the league, and I'll kind of end it by Javon Small. And this is why it's so important for Syracuse to get a big-time point guard in this year's portal, because Javon Small came from Oklahoma State, where they had a terrible season, but he was a great player. So now this year he's been he should be Big 12 Conference Player of the Year because he was that good. And he's still been that good. And that's why it's so important for Syracuse to put all their chips in on a big-time point guard and then get a bunch of defensive players around him. Yeah, they did get Imani Hansberry and a few others from Illinois who was a tournament team. But, I guess long story short is what I'm saying is, it can be done. And I got full faith in Adrian Autry. A lot of the fans who call in and poo-poo him, shame on all them, really. I mean, this guy's one of us. Yeah, the guy's coached here. He's played here. We want to see him win. I want to see him win. So, I think it's important to take a page out of what West Virginia did. They were awful last year. They changed their entire roster. They brought one guy back. He hasn't even played this year. Who played last year? And all new guys. It can be done. Syracuse, I think, can do it. I think with a bigger NIL budget. And that's what, needs to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we saw this year, clearly the first move they made last year was Lampkin. In hindsight, as good as Eddie has been at various points, it would have been more effective to make sure you got a big-time point guard. Syracuse, I think, needs a point guard. They need rim protection, and then you fill in with around whatever else you got. And we'll see how it goes, Matt. We'll see how it goes, but I agree with you. It is going to be vitally important when that thing opens in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Brian.
All right, thank you, Matt. There he is, Matt, a Mountaineer. We'll let him hang around. I miss being in the same league as West Virginia, country roads and all that. Oh, it scared the crap out of you whenever that freaking Mountaineer just shot his gun, especially when he was firing the musket indoors at basketball games. Too loud. What? You're indoors. Enough of that. Never like that. Outdoor football game, all right. Indoors at the WVU Coliseum at women's basketball games when there was 12 people there. Yeah, we didn't need that. All right, we're moving on here on this hour. Brought to you by DVOffers.com. Powered by Drivers Village, which still in Cicero.
Here's the 411.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
In the 315.
So you're going to be doing that all week, right?
Nah. Oh, yeah.
All right, Mike is here.
Hello. Before we get into the nonsensical stuff, I got a hard-hitting question for you.
Okay, go on.
Something that I think I may have discovered today. Personal discovery, not world-changing.
Okay.
But
you didn't change the world today, Mike?
No.
How dare you?
I feel like the Canadian tuxedo isn't as common of a phrase as I thought it was my whole life.
It must be an age gap thing.
Yeah, okay. So you were aware of Canadian tuxedos, right? That's
of course.
Okay. Thank you. Because one of our hosts today on Newhouse Afternoon, she was wearing a Canadian tuxedo, and we pointed out none of the three hosts had ever heard of it.
I don't know where the Canadian tuxedo lingo age gap is. But I've now learned today it must be somewhere in the mid-20s.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, too.
Because both you and Jordan aware, our new house hosts not aware, so we are going to have to do further research to hone in on this.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Paul knew what a Canadian tuxedo. I feel like that's right up his alley. But David also didn't know about it, so I do think it might be mid-20s as the
24.
Cutoff.
Yeah, I think we did a lot of very quick research on the subject today.
Yeah, we did. We found out there's a Texas tuxedo as well.
Is there?
That is a blazer with jeans, which makes perfect sense if you think about it.
Why does Texas get credit for that?
I don't know, but I feel like
are cowboy boots involved?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I feel like the big belt, the cowboy boots.
I'm not giving credit to Texas for that unless cowboy boots are involved.
I think a cowboy hat as well. Because I do think belt buckle, boots, hat completely changes the outfit.
Yeah,
when it comes to
jeans and a blazer, I say wouldn't be inherent to Texas. But if you Texas it up, I'll give you credit for it.
Well, everything is bigger in Texas, so I imagine they would.
Okay.
All right, the nonsensical stuff that nobody cares about. I'm sorry I didn't have more hard-hitting information for you today.
We got to solve this here. More nonsensical clothing things. This applies directly to our people on Q Sports Talk, and this happens every time I wear this sweater. Mike, what color sweater am I wearing?
It's maroon.
Okay. So I'm not colorblind. The sweater looks brown on camera.
It does.
And I don't know why. This sweater it looks very brown on camera. It's maroon.
I just
need to clear that up for the people that it's not me deciding what color my sweater is, that everyone that sees it in person can agree.
Wait, my question is, why would it matter if it is brown? Were you catching flack for wearing a brown
I don't know,
sweater?
but I feel it comes up every time I wear this sweater. It's very, consistently.
There's something up with our lights because that's like super common with like a lot of people when they're in here. People are like, "Why are you wearing a pink shirt?" And they're like, "It's orange." You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
I feel this sweater, which is not remarkable in any way whatsoever.
I think so.
I mean, I feel it. I feel the color about this sweater comes up the highest percentage of any article of clothing I wear.
Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's,
I mean, I like the sweater, but I feel it comes up.
Is it comfy?
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Because it's got like that, what would you call that?
It's got like a light waffling, I'd say. Yeah.
And I feel like those can really make or break a shirt. Because like sometimes you're like, oh, this feels fantastic. And then other times you're like, it feels like I'm being cut every half an inch on my entire body.
Oh, no, it's quite comfy.
Well, good.
I will continue to wear my maroon.
Do you have any other colors in that sweater? You're a big sweater guy.
Yeah, I got like a creamish colored one.
Like an off-white type of thing?
Yeah. I think I actually wore it earlier this week.
I don't entirely know what off-white is. It just looks like white to me.
But it's off.
True.
Yeah.
Wonder what on-whites is. Is that just white?
I think that's just white, yeah.
Oh. So is off-white just like a nice way of saying black? Because it's like the opposite of white?
No, because that's black.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right.
We already have a name for that.
Guys, very valid, very valid. All right, so the Bengals grant Trey Hendrickson the opportunity to look for a trade. He's been with the team for 8 years now.
He's really good.
Every year it seems like he gets better, too. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, I felt like people were starting to talk about him, and then every year since, he just more and more sacks. And last year, the sack leader.
He led the league.
Yep, sack leader. Big issue with the Bengals, a little bit more involved than just Hendrickson. Money is becoming an issue right now. Everybody on that roster, especially on the offense, wants to get paid. There's only so much money to go around. It's seeming like the Bengals might be falling in a trap of, hey, our offense is good, let's retain it, and just kind of let the defense go where it may, which is already not in a very good spot.
What they need to do is this. They need to hire anyone from the Eagles front office that understands how they're doing the cap and then just sign all of them.
Yeah.
Like, the Eagles will be like, and what's the issue with this? You've got a bunch of good players. Just pay them all and go win games.
Just win next year.
Yeah,
man.
like, what's the deal? Like, figure it out.
Yeah, they're in a really tough spot, and it seems like they've just kind of been slowly dropping the last 2 years. I mean, they went from this core roster has been to a Super Bowl. It's been to the AFC Championship game for the most part. This core has been there for a while now, and it's just kind of slowly fallen out of their grasp.
Yeah, I get the cap as a thing, but at the same time, the cap is also just like a construct. Like, if you just don't believe in it, you can. It's not actual hard dollars what you're paying the guys right now. The Bengals have been cheap forever. Like, Mike Brown has been cheap forever. Trey Hendrickson is one of the best players in the league. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you should probably keep that guy. Jamal Chase and T. Higgins, 2 great players. If you want to win a Super Bowl, keep those guys. And then, like, here's how the Eagles make it work. You also have to hit on your drafts.
Yes.
Because then you fill in the holes with cheap rookies instead of having to go get free agents. But, like, Trey Hendrickson's really good.
Well, and
I can sort of get, like, the Browns with Myles Garrett of why, if they trade him, like, they're not good right now. He's fantastic, but you're not reaping the benefits of that right now. The Bengals are trying to win right now.
Yeah.
So don't trade away your best defensive player.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy to argue that the 4 guys the last season that have been issues with their contracts debatably might be the only 4 that the Bengals have actually hit on in the last 5 or 6 years.
And it's also, here's where you screwed up. Like, if you took care of the contract stuff right away, you wouldn't be in this spot. Like, how they let it all hit at the same time, that's their own stupidity.
Yeah, that's their own fault.
Look at the Eagles. They pay their guys right away, and then they're able to stretch it out and move it on down the line. Now the fact that you got Higgins coming up, Chase wants money. If you'd paid Jamar a year ago, you wouldn't be in this spot.
Yep.
If you paid T a year ago, you wouldn't have been in this spot. You probably could have gotten them both for cheaper. So
definitely,
you screwed it up, and now you might lose I'd say you might lose your best defensive player because you screwed up how to run a football team.
Yeah, it's a lot easier if you're a player to sign a contract when the team comes to you and goes, listen, I know you think you deserve more, and we agree.
Yeah.
But if we want you to be here and to be who we think you are, we need to give you a little bit less because we gotta keep T in the house. He's going to make your job so much easier and vice versa.
Yeah.
Debatably the best 1-2 punch in the league, honestly, in the wide receiver position.
They could have paid Jamar last offseason, and it would have been a lot, but it would have been less than what they're going to have to pay him now.
Yeah.
Because he just went out and had the best season in the league.
Yeah. And TJ Watt just came out, too. He's going into the last year of his contract. He was talking with the Steelers last year about an extension, and it didn't go through. This year he goes, hey, last year I was willing to take a hometown discount. Now, it's a little different. If you extend that player a year or two before the end of the contract, their belief in you as an organization skyrockets. If you do a situation like with T. Higgins, it's going to implode on itself.
All right, with that, we'll take a break. We'll come back, tell you what's on tap after this. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Man, you talking Blarney Stone? I haven't been there in a minute.
Never heard of it.
Oh, they're burgers, Mike.
Turkey burgers?
They'll tell you to just get out.
Get out.
I don't know what they charge now. Their burgers used to be like $5. I haven't been there in a minute, but I'm going to guess it's probably gone up a little bit.
Everything's so expensive now, man.
But those burgers, they're fantastic burgers.
I feel like I'm getting to that old man status where I'm like, back when I was a kid, we could get 3 double cheeseburgers for $3. You know what I mean?
Well, Blarney's burgers were still $5. Like after burgers were $5. Like what? Blarney Stone. I'm sure they're still cheap. I'm going to guess it's gone up a little. Let's see. No, Blarney Stone, not.
What do you want on the pod?
1, 2, 4.
Sounds good.
Blarney Stone, Syracuse, not the one in Ireland. $8. That's still reasonable, Govendo. The Blarneys? Yeah. Yeah, that's a good spot. I haven't been there in a minute. That's not bad bowling ball. Where did I go last year during the Lenten Fish? It was some firehouse was doing one. Where was it? Manlius? I forget where it was. They cleared out the trucks and you drove through from back to front the firehouse and ordered and picked it up and drove away. That was good. I forget which one it was. Where was I? Fayetteville? Manly? I don't remember where I went. Well, if they've got dames, Milk. It's a fact, Aaron. Here's what you need to do, Milk. You take your monitor and you do some color correction until this looks maroon, and then when this looks maroon, everything else will be perfect for you. Did you say meat raffle? That's a lot of meat. I was at Rudy's this summer. It was good. Damn, 12 meat raffles a year. I don't know. It's probably the camera with the sweater or the lighting. I don't know. It's very consistent that this sweater... Because I'm looking at my monitor in front of me right now. I agree with you. It looks brown on the monitor. Like, if I hold my sweater up to the monitor, they don't look the same. The hanging shirt is orange in the corner. But it looks, the orange is, it's a different looking orange, though, in the room. It doesn't look the same. It pops more here in person than in the screen. The Labatt Leaf is indeed red, but it's like a darker red when I turn and look at it than when I'm looking at it on the monitor. Maybe CBW. We do actually potentially have something in the works for that coming up. Stay tuned. I don't know how long. Stay tuned at some point.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, back at it to put the finishing drops on it here tonight.
Here's what's on tap tonight.
What do we got tonight here on a Thursday? It is the final Adrian Autry show of the season, 7 o'clock. Carabo's Fayetteville Town Center. Of course, listen over on TK99. And that rolls into the final Adrian Autry live Q&A on Q Sports Talk exclusively of the season, 8 to 8:30. Get in there. Get in the chat. Gomez and Red will be there. Ask your questions and all that good stuff. Big show, busy show tomorrow on a Friday. We'll get Mario in here for the six-pack. The man who sort of knows will sort of know some stuff. No wrong answers to get you ready for the Virginia game. Should we toss Hopkins in there as well? I don't know. Maybe we'll get wacky with it tomorrow, and we'll visit with our friend Greg Madia of the Charlottesville Daily Progress to see what's up with the Cavaliers and what has had to have been a very weird season with Tony Bennett stepping away right before it started. Cavaliers are currently 2 games up on the Orange in the ACC conference standings as they arrive at the Dome on Saturday night at 8 o'clock. So a full Friday there. Thanks to JJ Starling and Gary Gate hopping on with us today. With that, have a good night, one and all. We'll be back here tomorrow right here at 4 o'clock on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
The 3-1.